Tonight on the Night Team. Well, what comes after winning both Oaks 150 and Derby 150? Everyone's looking to trainer Kenny McPeak for the answer.
Those are people that I admire and have read about and heard about. Maybe some kid will read about me one day.
What's next for Torpedo Anna and Mystic Dan? Plus a Cinco de Mayo celebration and a legacy that was the dying wish of a Louisville trailblazer.
Because if you look around, you see faces from all over the world.
Traditions living on while others start new ones. And later, more bridge closures. Could we be nearing the end of the Sherman-Mitten Renewal Project? What alternative routes you should be aware of for your morning commute. Right now on the WHAS11 Night Team. College graduations were interrupted this weekend by protests that have been playing out on campuses all across the country. It's our top story here on the Night Team. Thanks for joining us. I'm Alex Dieterer. Protesters have been taking over campuses for weeks now, calling on universities to divest from companies that do business with Israel. ABC's Zoreen Shah is following all of the developments from Los Angeles.
The LAPD on campus at USC early Sunday morning. The school's Department of Public Safety says officers were called in to provide security as the university worked to peacefully remove an illegal encampment.
It seemed like the people in the encampment followed LAPD's orders.
No arrests have been reported.
Ceasefire now!
Protesters gathering again at the University of Texas in Austin Sunday.
We stand with Palestine!
The Art Institute of Chicago Saturday, SWAT teams called in after pro-Palestinian protesters tried to set up an encampment. Police facing off with them for hours. At least 68 people were arrested. At the University of Virginia, police in riot gear moving in to clear an encampment. More than 24 arrested. These protests, many of which have been going on for weeks, are now impacting graduation ceremonies. At the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, an encampment still on campus despite graduation events.
This should have ended long ago, and the only way this will end is if our demands are met.
Shut it down! Shut it down!
The University of Michigan's graduation was briefly interrupted by pro-Palestinian protesters chanting and waving Palestinian flags. In New York City, police moved in last week when protesters took over a building on Columbia University's campus.
The police came in exactly 2 hours. Everything was over. It was a beautiful thing to watch.
These protests happening amid the war in Gaza are now a campaign issue.
Breaking windows, shutting down campuses, forcing the cancellation of classes and graduations. None of this is a peaceful protest.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams has said many of those arrested have been what he called outside agitators.
When those protests reach the point of violence, as the president stated, we have to ensure that we use a minimum amount of force to terminate what is perceived to be a threat.
Zoreen Shah, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Here in Kentuckiana, upwards of 50 people have been arrested in Bloomington during weeks of protests. Police crackdowns have triggered sharp criticism from city and county officials, blasting the university and ISP for their response to the protests, which included snipers on nearby roofs. And now the ACLU of Indiana has filed a lawsuit against IU, claiming the university violated the First Amendment rights of people who participated in the pro-Palestinian protests. The ACLU says 3 plaintiffs are facing a 1-year ban from campus for protesting. The lawsuit claims that these bans are unlawful and a restraint of the students' free speech. They're asking for the bans to be lifted and for the plaintiffs to be allowed to rejoin the pro-Palestinian protests at Dunn Meadows. And while Mystic Dan is now soaking up his victory after being crowned the winner of Derby 150, the parties and celebrations are not stopping around Kentuckiana. Nonprofit Second Stride held a post-Derby barn and stable party today to keep the good vibes going. Take a look. A band that played at the event earlier today. There were also vendors and people were able to meet the horses at the Second Stride Prospect Farm. Second Stride is a nonprofit that takes in retired racehorses after their career to find them a forever home through adoption. Today's After Derby event was a chance for people to support the horses after retirement and also introduce the program to the community.
Think about the horses and how, after racing, how they have a whole lot, another life in front of them, and that they do have a lifespan for 20 or 30 years. And yeah, just amazing what horses do for us and what they can give after their racing career.
Right now, Second Stride has 21 horses available for adoption at its farm in Prospect. And as some celebrations wrapped up with the 150th run for the Roses, others, however, were barely even underway. That could be said for a Cinco de Mayo celebration that was hosted underneath the bright lights of 4th Street Live today. The night team's Connor Steffen and photojournalist Aspen Hester tell us the deeper story behind today's festivities.
A day after Derby 150, the celebrations continued in the heart of downtown on 4th Street Live.
We'll continue to celebrate all the other cultures from Latin America.
To kind of enjoy something that maybe they wouldn't have enjoyed or even been exposed to.
Sonia Ruiz and her husband began hosting an event to celebrate their heritage 7 years ago.
This is for Louisville. He wanted, his saying was, hey, the Derby's over, this is the last party.
Ruiz's husband passed last December. Before doing so, he had one last request.
Before he passed away, he wrote to his sponsor and said, would you make this happen again? Make this be my legacy. And here we are.
As the legacy lives on, others are just beginning.
I think it means a lot to all of us. It's the first time that we've done something so public in our time of leadership.
Among the dozens of performers and speakers at Sunday's event were these three from DuPont Manual High School, representing the Jefferson County Public Schools, Latin American and Hispanic Student Organization and allies.
Like for everyone to come together and like celebrate the Cinco de Mayo and also educate people on the importance of Cinco de Mayo to people who aren't part of the Latin American Hispanic community. It's just like really empowering.
It's a citywide event and everyone's like seeing our culture put on display.
Louisville is home to a vibrant Latin American community, including a growing Cuban immigrant community.
As you probably have heard, we have the second largest Cuban population in the country, outside of Miami, Florida, and so that's one of the things that we were very happy and to celebrate.
Very important to participate in events like this, especially now that there's a rise in Latinx and Hispanic students across all JCPS.
For JCPS instructors, the holiday is a time to reflect on progress and the challenges ahead.
We need to make sure that everybody has a seat at the table and that everybody has a space to share their culture with everybody, and we can join and share that culture together.
Meeting new neighbors across our city with open arms. In Louisville, Connor Steffen, the WHAS 1119 on your side.
We have breaking news just into the newsroom. A man and an 8-year-old boy have been shot after a drive-by shooting late tonight. Police responded right here to Kingston Avenue just before 9:30 this evening. When officers arrived, they found the man and the boy. Both were taken to the hospital where they are expected to survive. Police say right now they have no suspects at the moment. Anyone with information about this is encouraged to call the anonymous tip line. That number is 574-LMPD. Well, another day, another bridge closure. Part of the Sherman-Minton Bridge is closing tomorrow as part of the renewal project and will stay closed for 2 weeks. Eastbound I-64 lanes coming into Louisville will be closing at 3 tomorrow afternoon for crews to finish concrete work on the lower bridge. While the lanes are closed, I-265 and I-64 will be the alternate routes to take. Traffic that bypasses I-265 will not be able to cross the Sherman-Minton and will need to exit onto West 5th Street in New Albany to get to eventually I-265. Eastbound lanes will be closed until May 20th. That'll reopen at 5 in the morning that Monday. Westbound lanes will stay open.